Content warning. This episode may not be suitable for all audiences. Please be advised that the story you are about to hear contains disturbing themes, frightening imagery, and situations that some listeners may find unsettling. Listener discretion is advised.
Stories Philippines podcast.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of SPP True Encounters. This is volume 21. And honestly, we are just so humbled that you keep coming back. Every single week, we get messages, comments, and DMs from listeners all over the world. And tonight's batch is no exception. We have 4 stories that are going to stay with you. I promise you that. Before we get into it though, let me give a quick shout out to all our new subscribers this week. If you're listening for the first time, hello, Kamusta, welcome. We are Angel and Paul, 2 Filipino Canadians who believe that real encounters deserve to be told properly, with respect, with heart, and without all the theatrics. We are not here to entertain you with fiction. We are here to share the stories that real people sent in, the ones that happened to them, the ones that changed something inside them. And if you're already part of our SPP family, salamat, as always, for riding with us.
Yeah, you know what, Angel? I just want to take a quick moment to remind everyone, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts, subscribing really does help us out. It pushes us up in the algorithms, it helps new listeners find us, and honestly, it just feels good to know that we're growing because people genuinely want to hear these stories. And while you're at it, if you have a minute, leave us a review. A rating, a few words, even just a star count helps massively. We read every single review. Sometimes we read them out loud on air, and the reviews you guys have been leaving lately, some of them are so heartfelt, they actually make me tear up a little bit. So please, take a minute, drop us a review.
Also, please share this episode. Tag a friend. Send it to your group chat. Send it to your tito, your tita, your lolo, your lola, your cousin in Cebu, your barkada in Vancouver, your kababayan in Toronto. Filipino spooky stories travel best when shared. We are building a little community here of people who believe in things that go bump in the night, and we want that community to keep growing. Okay, with that out of the way, Paul, kamustahan muna tayo, di ba?
Oo nga, kamustahan muna. So Angel, what's been going on with you? How's life in the Great White North these days?
Paul, you know what? Toronto weather is doing that thing again where it's freezing in the morning and then by 2 p.m. it feels like spring and then by 6 p.m. it's snowing sideways. I walked outside yesterday with just a light jacket and I regretted every decision I ever made in my entire life. My tita called me from Manila and she said, "Anak, why are you wearing that? You'll get sick." And I wanted to say, "Tita, I'm already sick of the cold. That should count."
That's very Filipino tita energy right there. They always know the weather better than you, even from across the world.
Exactly. She also asked if I was eating properly because apparently I look thin in our last video call. Which, Paul, I do not look thin. I look fantastic. But okay, tita, I will eat more pancit. Speaking of pancit, I made a big batch of bihon guisado last Sunday, and my Canadian partner tried it for the first time. He said it tasted like home. He grew up in Manitoba with his grandma, and he said it reminded him of her chicken soup. I almost cried. There is something so beautiful about food crossing cultures like that.
That's really beautiful, Angel. For me, things have been pretty steady. I'm in Vancouver now, the rain capital of Canada, but honestly, I love it. There's something about the rain here that makes me feel like I'm back in Baguio during the rainy season. It's comforting in a weird way. My Lola used to say that rain was the sky crying for the people who passed away. And you know what? I think about that every time it pours here. It's silly, probably, but it makes me feel connected to her.
That's not silly at all, Paul. That's the kind of thing that keeps our heritage alive. Speaking of heritage, I went to a Filipino community event last weekend in Scarborough. There was a karaoke machine, there was a halo-halo stand, there were titas making leche flan in the church basement, and I swear, for a moment, I was back in the Philippines. Even the smell of the air was different. Like, suddenly, I wasn't a Canadian anymore. I was just a Filipino kid again, hanging out, eating too much, listening to tita's gossip.
I love that. I love those moments. You know, Angel, that's part of why we do this podcast, right? Stories are another way of going home. Even if we can't physically be there all the time, the stories, the laughter, the fears, the beliefs, they bring us back.
100%. And tonight's stories are going to do exactly that. We have 4 submissions that are absolutely chilling. The first one is from Quiet Manila, and Paul, you're going to narrate this one. It's about a humming child in Blumentritt. I don't want to spoil it, but just know your skin is going to crawl.
Yeah, I'm actually still thinking about this one. Quiet Manila did a really good job describing it. The atmosphere is just so thick. Okay, first story?
Ooh, go ahead.
All right, this submission comes from a listener who goes by Quiet Manila, and they sent in an experience that happened back in 2023. The setting is Blumentritt, Manila. Specifically, the boyfriend's aunt's house, first floor near the hallway bathroom. Quiet Manila and her boyfriend frequently traveled at night, so they would often arrive back at the house around midnight. Now, the first time it happened, she was lying in bed, half asleep, when she heard it. A child humming. Very faint at first, almost like it was blending with the air itself. Like it wasn't quite a sound, more like a vibration. She lay there for a moment, thought maybe it was her boyfriend, but he was asleep next to her. So she asked him very quietly, Hoy, hindi ka ba umuulan? Wait, let me translate that. Hey, are you humming? And he said very calmly, You hear it too? She nodded in the dark. They cuddled closer together, listening. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the humming stopped, like someone had pressed mute on the world.
That moment right there is the scariest moment in any story. When the other person confirms you're not imagining it.
Right? Because your brain can play tricks on you. You can rationalize almost anything away. But when the person next to you says, Yes, I hear it too, suddenly there's no place to hide. So the boyfriend, Angel, he goes on to explain the area. He says, Blumentritt has a long history. The canal near their house, the rail tracks, those places have been sites where bodies were dumped during the Tokang years. Tokang, for those who don't know, was the bloody drug war campaign under the previous administration. Thousands were killed, and not all of them were given proper burials. Many were just left in empty lots, in canals, along rail lines. The boyfriend tells Quiet Manila that someone else had slept in their exact room before, and that person heard dragging chains. Heavy, slow chains. And when they asked around, no one in the house had chains. No dogs, no construction, nothing that would explain it.
That's terrifying, because then you're left wondering who was dragging what, and where was it dragging them from, and where was it dragging them to?
Exactly. And the thing that gets me about this story is the humming. Humming is such an innocent sound. Children hum when they're happy, when they're playing, when they're bored in class. But in the dark, at midnight, when no children are awake, humming becomes something else entirely. It becomes a signal. It's almost like the child is trying to communicate, but not in a way we understand. Quiet Manila writes that after that first night, she started dreading going back to that house. But her boyfriend's family was there. They had to visit. So she would lie awake, waiting, and every once in a while, she'd hear it again, faint, distant, like it was coming from the hallway bathroom. The door would always be closed. She never opened it. She was too scared to see what was on the other side.
I would never have opened that door either. No, thank you. Some doors are meant to stay closed.
And here's the part that really got me. She mentions that one night, her boyfriend got up to use the bathroom, and as he walked past the hallway, she heard him stop. Just for a second. He came back to bed and she asked him what was wrong. He said, Wala lang. Nothing. But she knew. He heard something too. They never talked about it during the day. They only whispered about it at night, in the dark, as if saying it out loud in daylight would make it more real than they could handle. And then, one visit, The humming came not from the hallway, but from right outside their window. Their room was on the first floor, and the window was right next to the sidewalk. The house had grills on the windows, the typical Filipino kapi-style grills, and through those grills, in the middle of the night, they heard the humming, like a child standing right outside, waiting to be invited in.
Paul, I'm getting chills just narrating this back to you because I can picture it perfectly. The grills, the dark, the silent street, and that sound, that soft humming just inches away.
And here's what Quiet Manila writes, and I'm going to quote her as closely as I can. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. I think my heart actually stopped for a second. The humming just went on for maybe a minute, and then it faded, like footsteps walking away. We didn't look out the window. We both agreed in the morning that whatever it was, we didn't want to see it. That's real fear, Angel. Not the horror movie kind. The kind where your body just locks up and you have no control over anything.
Yeah, that's the realistic fear. The I cannot move, I cannot scream, I just have to lie here and hope it leaves kind of fear. That's what makes this story hit so hard. Quiet Manila also adds something at the end that I want to read out. She says, and I'm paraphrasing, that they eventually moved to a different room in the house when they visited, but the new room had its own sounds, footsteps in the ceiling. The aunt's house is not empty, she says. It has history, and not the kind you put in books. I think that's such a powerful line.
It is. And you know what, Angel? What strikes me about this story is that Quiet Manila isn't claiming to know what the child was. She doesn't say it was a Tiana. She doesn't say it was a San Telmo. She doesn't slap a label on it. She just says there was a humming child and it wasn't alive in any way we understand alive to be. That kind of humility in storytelling is so important. Not everything has to be explained. Some things just are.
100%, and we are so grateful to Quiet Manila for trusting us with this experience, for sending it in, for letting us share it with the world. That takes courage. Okay, Paul, before we move on to story number 2, I want to remind everyone, if you're enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can buy us a coffee, you can join our Patreon, you can drop a tip in the link in our show notes. Every little bit helps us keep this thing going. We are completely independent. We don't have a network backing us. We don't have sponsors writing scripts for us. It's just the two of us recording in our little corners of Canada, trying to bring these stories to life with the respect they deserve. So if you want to help, that's the best way. And if you can't, that's okay too. Sharing the episode, leaving a review, sending us your stories, that all matters just as much. Okay, mid-roll shout-out done. Paul, what's next?
Okay, story number 2. And this one, Angel, you're narrating. It's from Restless Carabao. It's about a hotel next to a hospital. Front office agent. Graveyard shift. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. December 2025. Okay, before we get into the next story, can we just sit with that one for a minute? Because the Blumentritt one is going to stay with me.
It really is. There's something about a child humming in the dark that just gets under your skin. It's not a scream, it's not a shout, it's a melody. It's almost peaceful, which is somehow worse.
It is, and the fact that both of them heard it separately and confirmed it to each other in whispers, that detail is what made it real. If she had imagined it, the boyfriend would have said, "Are you okay? You seem tired." But he heard it too. That cross-verification is the scariest part.
And the boyfriend's revelation at the end, about the Tokong history, about bodies in the canal and the Raiales, that added so much weight to the story. It wasn't just a random haunting. It was tied to a specific trauma, a specific place, a specific history of violence.
Exactly. Places remember, Manila especially, given everything that's happened over the decades. The ground holds the memories. The walls hold the memories. Sometimes they let those memories out in ways we don't expect.
And the dragging chains detail, that wasn't even from them. That was from someone else who had stayed in the same room before, which means this isn't just one ghost. This is a layered haunting, multiple stories, multiple victims, all converging in one space.
It's almost like the room is a meeting point, a place where different spirits intersect. The humming child could be one, the chain dragger could be another. They're all just passing through, or all just stuck there.
Which makes me wonder, how many of these places exist in Manila? How many old houses, old apartments, old buildings have these kinds of layered histories that nobody talks about?
Probably thousands. We just don't hear about most of them. The stories that get shared are the ones that are too scary to keep quiet. The rest just sit there in the background, waiting for someone to notice. Angel, kamusta na? Parang ages since we last talked.
Paul, ikaw talaga. I'm good, just swamped with work this week. How's the family? Tell me everything.
Family's good. Tita Lorna called from Manila last night. You know how she is. Talks for 3 hours straight about her arthritis, her neighbor's dog, and the price of galunggong. My phone was literally overheating by the end.
Classic Tita Lorna. My mom was FaceTiming me this morning while I was making coffee. The lighting was terrible. I looked like a ghost. She immediately said, "Anak, you look tired. Are you eating?"
Because in Filipino mom logic, looking tired automatically means you're not eating. Out here in Vancouver, the rain hasn't stopped in like 2 weeks. I'm not exaggerating. My shoes are still wet from Monday.
Vancouver rain versus Toronto snow. Fight. I woke up yesterday and my car looked like an igloo. I had to use a hairdryer to defrost my windshield for 20 minutes.
That's dedication, friend. You really need a block heater. Or maybe just a garage.
I know. My cousin Dennis keeps telling me to get one, but I keep forgetting. Canadian winters really are something else. Remember when you first arrived and wore sneakers in November?
Don't remind me. I learned the hard way. Anyway, how's your week looking?
Pretty packed, but I had time to gather some amazing stories. How's the prep going for True Encounters Volume 21?
Actually, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. We have some wild submissions. One came from a listener in Winnipeg. She swears her Lola spirit protected her during a blizzard last January.
Filipino grandmas are basically superheroes, Paul. My Lola in Pampanga once scared away a stray aspen with just one look. That dog never came back to our barangay.
Don't even get me started. Mine still calls me every Sunday from Quezon City to remind me to eat rice, even though I'm living in Canada. She says, "Paul, no rice, no energy."
That's scientific fact for every Filipino, honestly. My mom asked me yesterday why I wasn't fat yet. Like, that's literally a goal for her.
Classic Filipino mom energy. Family tech support never stops, even across oceans and time zones.
Speaking of family, are you flying to Manila anytime soon? My brother's turning 40 and my mom's already planning 3 separate celebrations.
I'm thinking maybe next year, hopefully before my mom starts the dreaded wedding matchmaking with random tita suggestions.
Haha, been there. My aunt tried to match me with her son's friend last Christmas. I was literally holding a plate of lechon when she ambushed me.
Filipino ambush matchmaking deserves its own episode. Okay, let's dive in. These listener stories won't tell themselves.
Oh, this one is fresh. It just happened basically. Okay, settle in everyone. This submission comes from Restless Carabao, a front office agent at a hotel located right next to a hospital. December 2025. She's on the graveyard shift, which in the Philippines usually runs from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Now, this is already a setup for creepy encounters, right? Hotels next to hospitals are notorious in Philippine folklore. People often check in to wait for news about relatives. Sometimes those relatives don't make it, and you can guess where their spirits might linger. But Restless Carabao's story goes beyond the usual hospital haunting. So it was around 3 or 4 in the morning. The lobby was quiet. 2 coworkers were chatting with her at the front desk, talking about horror stories, sharing their own experiences. You know how Filipinos love telling cuento about ghosts, especially at night, especially when they're tired and their guards are down. One of her coworkers joked, "Baka gisingin pa natin yung bata dito. Maybe we'll disturb the child here." They laughed, because of course the bata joke, the child ghost, is almost a cliche in Filipino horror. We grew up with it.
It's the universal Filipino ghost. The white dress, the long black hair, the child running in hallways.
Exactly. So they laughed it off, and then the lights in the back office flickered. Not the front desk, not the lobby, just the back office. And the back office was empty. They checked. No one was there. The lights flickered 3 times, then stopped. They looked at each other. Nobody said anything for a moment. Then they went back to chatting, but the energy had changed. There's a thing that happens in Filipino horror stories where the laugh is a defense mechanism. But once something flickers, once something confirms that maybe you're not just telling stories, the laughter dies.
And then the basement, the biometrics log.
Right, so one of her duties was to walk down to the basement to log her biometrics, basically to clock in or out or for some procedural thing. The basement is accessed by a back staircase, dim, narrow, the kind of place that gives you the creeps even in broad daylight. She had to go alone. Her coworkers stayed at the front desk. She walked down, logged her biometrics, and as she turned around to walk back up, she heard it, right next to her ear, clear as anything, a soft psst. Not a shout, not a scream, just a whisper. The kind of whisper you'd use to get someone's attention, like they were standing right behind her, leaning in close. She froze. She didn't turn around. She ran. She ran back up the stairs as fast as she could, heart pounding, hands shaking. When she got back to the front desk, her coworkers looked at her and asked, "Okay ka lang? Are you okay?" She said, "May sumigaw sa akin." Someone shouted at me. They said, "Wala naman, wala kaming narinig. We didn't hear anything. We were here the whole time."
So the whisper was for her and her alone. That's a classic paranormal marker. Direct personal contact from something on the other side.
Yes, and this is where it gets even creepier. Another coworker who wasn't on shift that night but had been working there for a while came forward with her own story. She had been working the front desk one morning around 5 a.m. and a guest came down saying they heard a child running in the boys' bathroom. You know, the boys' bathroom, the one near the lobby. She went to check. She knocked. No answer. She opened the door. Empty. She checked the stalls. Empty. She went back to the desk and pulled up the CCTV. Now, the CCTV covers the hallway leading to the bathroom, but not inside. So on the footage, she saw a child run down the hallway, push open the bathroom door, and go inside. She checked the timestamp. The child had been in there for maybe 10 seconds. She went back. Empty. The child had vanished. But the footage was clear. A small figure in what looked like a white shirt, running.
That's the kind of footage that ruins your sleep for weeks.
It does, and then the housekeeping staff added their own accounts. They reported that sometimes, when they're cleaning rooms on the upper floors, the elevator would open on its own. The elevator would be on, say, the 4th floor, and the doors would just slide open. No one inside. The lights inside would be off, even though the elevator was supposed to be in service. They'd see the dark shaft, the empty cab, and then the doors would close again. They said it always happens on the same floors, the ones that face the hospital, the ones where patients have passed away.
So the elevator is acting like a portal almost, opening to let something through and then closing when nothing's there.
Yes, exactly. And Restless Carabao ended her submission with something that I think is really chilling. She said, "I still work there. I still take the graveyard shift. I still walk down to the basement. But I never go alone anymore. I always ask someone to walk with me, and I never, ever look back when I hear the whisper." I think that's such a powerful closing line. It captures the reality of working in these places. You can't just quit. You need the job. You need the money. So you adapt. You learn the rules. You don't look back. You don't engage. You just survive the shift.
And I think that's something a lot of Filipino workers can relate to. We work in hotels, we work in call centers, we work in hospitals, we work in BPOs. And sometimes those places have things attached to them, things that linger, and we just keep going because the bills don't stop and the ghosts don't pay rent.
That's so true, Paul. Okay, thank you, Restless Carabao, for sending this in. If any of our listeners are also hotel workers, hospital workers, graveyard shift workers, please send us your stories. We want to hear them. All right, Paul, story number 3 coming up, and this one is from Foggy Benguet. You're narrating again. Okay, the hotel one. That got me too. The whisper. Just psst, nothing else. No voice, no words, no warning, just that sound.
And it was directed at her alone. Her co-worker didn't hear it. Nobody else in the building heard it. It was for her and her only. That's the hallmark of intelligent haunting. Something that knows you, sees you, and chooses to engage.
Which is the scariest kind. A random noise you can dismiss as the building settling, a voice you can attribute to a neighbor. But a sound that targets you specifically, that's hard to explain away.
And the elevator detail. The elevator opening on the upper floors, the dark floors facing the hospital where patients had passed away. That's a clear portal. Whatever is in that hotel is using the elevator as a transit point, coming and going between floors, between worlds.
It makes me think about every hotel I've ever stayed in, every late night walk down a hotel hallway, every time I've taken an elevator in a building I didn't know. There's always this low-level awareness that something could be there, something you can't see.
Filipino hotels especially, because they're often built on or near older structures. The bones of the old building are still there, under the new paints, under the new furniture. The spirits don't leave just because you renovate.
And the coworker's phantom child story. That was chilling. The CCTV clearly showed a child running into the bathroom, but the bathroom was empty. Where did the child go? What is this child? Is it a manifestation, a memory, an echo of something that happened there long ago?
We may never know, but the staff learn to live with it. They adapt it. They walk in pairs. They don't look back. They don't engage. That's survival mode in a haunted workplace. Yes, okay, this story is long. It spans years and it's set in a provincial school. Same school from grade 3, which would be around 2017, all the way to grade 10, which is 2025. The submitter, Foggy Benguet, has been seeing the same white floating woman for years. Let me set this up properly. In grade 3, around 2017, Foggy Benguet was at school early, like really early, 5:30 in the morning early. Most kids weren't there yet. The classroom was dark, the hallway was quiet, and she was walking down the corridor toward her room when she saw it. A woman, dressed in white, floating. Not walking, floating, about a foot off the ground. The woman was at the window of one of the classrooms, just hovering there, looking inside. Foggy Benguet stopped. She didn't scream, she just stared, and then, as if sensing her, the woman turned her head. No face, or at least Foggy Benguet couldn't make out the face, just a blur where features should be. And then, the woman disappeared, just like that, gone.
That's a terrifying image. Floating, hovering, looking into a classroom. Like she was checking on something or someone.
Right, and here's the part that gave me actual chills. A friend of Foggy Benguet, separately, without knowing about her experience, told her that she had seen the same thing. Same white floating woman, but at the school grotto. The grotto is that little shrine area in Catholic schools, right? With the Virgin Mary, the candles, the flowers. The friend saw the woman hovering there early morning before anyone else arrived. 2 different locations, 2 different witnesses, same description. That confirmation, that cross-verification, that's what makes the story stronger.
Yeah, when multiple people see the same thing independently, that suggests it's not just one person's imagination.
Exactly. So a few weeks passed, and then one day, Foggy Benguet's teacher was sitting at her desk. The teacher had gone to the bathroom or stepped out for a moment. The classroom was empty. Students were at recess or something. Foggy Benguet walked past the teacher's chair, looked down, and there, under the chair, on the floor, was an image. A bloody image. She described it as the teacher's face, but distorted, like someone had splattered blood on the floor in the shape of the teacher's face. She didn't tell anyone right away. She was too scared. But that same day, in the same classroom, a classmate started acting strange, possessed in the local parlance, speaking in tongues, throwing things, her eyes rolling back. Another classmate got injured somehow, pushed or thrown by an unseen force. And the white woman, Foggy Benguet writes, was standing at the window again, watching, like she was the one orchestrating it all.
Paul, the bloody image of the teacher under her own chair. That's nightmare fuel. That's the kind of thing that stays with you for life.
It really is. And Foggy Benguet says that the teacher eventually left the school, transferred or resigned or something. Nobody really talked about it. Filipino schools, especially provincial ones, have a habit of just sweeping these things under the rug. Parents don't want to believe. Teachers don't want to admit it, so everyone just moves on and pretends it didn't happen.
Which makes it worse for the kids who saw it. They have no one to talk to, no one to process it with.
Right, and then grade 5 came, 2019-ish. Foggy Bengate was in the school CR, that's the comfort room, the bathroom. She was alone. She was using one of the stalls. Suddenly, she felt something pull her foot. Not hard, but firm, like a hand wrapping around her ankle. She looked down, and the water in the toilet bowl was rising fast, like someone was flushing from somewhere else, or like something was pushing the water up from below. And behind her, through the stall door, she could see the white floating woman, just hovering there, watching. Foggy Bengate screamed. She ran out. The water stopped. The woman disappeared. But the fear, she says, never went away.
The CR is already a creepy place for a lot of Filipinos, especially kids. The stories we grew up with about white ladies in CRs, about not using the bathroom at night, about not looking in the mirror too long. So to have this kind of experience in real life, that's just trauma layered on top of folklore.
Exactly. And now, in 2025, Foggy Benguet is in grade 10, same school, and the woman is back. Only this time, only Foggy Benguet sees her. Her friends don't see anything, the teachers don't see anything, but she's there. In hallways, in classrooms, at the window, floating, watching. Foggy Benguet writes that she has accepted it now. The woman is part of her school life, like a shadow, like a permanent fixture. She doesn't scream anymore. She just nods. She keeps walking. She finishes her day. But every morning, when she walks through those gates, she knows the woman is there. And the woman knows she's there. It's a silent agreement.
That's haunting in a different way. Not the terror of the first encounter, but the resignation of having to live with it. The acceptance. I think that's actually scarier in a way, because it means the entity isn't going anywhere, and neither is she.
Yeah, and Foggy Benguet ends his submission with the question that I think a lot of us have asked ourselves. Is she protecting me, or is she waiting for me? I don't think there's an answer. I think sometimes we just have to live with the questions.
That's beautiful, Paul. And thank you to Foggy Benguet for sharing such a long, layered story. These are the kinds of stories that stay with us, that we think about for days. Okay, we have one more story tonight, our final story. This one comes from Midnight Jawlogs. And Paul, I'm narrating this one. It's about a seaman and his Lola.
All right, take it away. Okay, Foggy Benguet's story. Years of hauntings. Same school, same woman, multiple witnesses. That one is hard to shake.
The bloody image of the teacher under her own chair. That's a specific, targeted haunting. That wasn't random. Someone or something was sending a message to that teacher specifically.
And then the possession, the classmate speaking in tongues, the other classmate getting thrown or pushed. That's active interference. That's a spirit that wants to be seen, wants to be felt, wants to make its presence undeniable.
Which is why Foggy Benguet's friend transferred schools. When a haunting crosses from scary moment to physical harm, you have to take it seriously. The family did the right thing.
But Foggy Benguet stayed, and she kept seeing the woman, from grade 3 all the way to grade 10. That's not just a haunting anymore. That's a relationship, a silent agreement between her and the spirit.
And her closing question, is she protecting me or is she waiting for me? That haunts me because the answer changes everything. If the spirit is protective, it's a guardian, a guide. If it's waiting, it's a predator, a collector.
Maybe both. Maybe the line between protection and predation is thinner than we think. Maybe the spirit is doing both at once, in ways we can't fully understand.
Either way, Foggy Benguet has learned to live with it. That kind of acceptance takes a strength most of us don't have. To see something every day, to know it's there, and to just keep going, that takes real courage. This submission comes from Midnight Jawlogs, and it's the story of a seaman named Chris. Chris is 31 years old, from Guimaras, working on a cargo ship docked in Spain. The year is 2024. He had just ended his shift, which ran from midnight to 4 a.m., 12 midnight to 4 a.m. He was tired, he was sweaty, he was hungry, and he climbed into his bunk to sleep. Now, the thing about Seaman life, Paul, and a lot of our listeners know this, is that you're away from home for months, sometimes years. You miss everything: birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, and worst of all, funerals. Chris lost his Lola in 2024. She passed away while he was at sea. He couldn't attend the funeral. He couldn't say goodbye. He couldn't even see her one last time. That kind of grief sits in your chest like a stone. It doesn't move. It just stays there, heavy, every single day.
That's one of the hardest parts of being a seaman, the distance. You're providing for your family, but you can't be there for them when it matters most.
Exactly. So Chris falls asleep that morning and he dreams. In the dream, he's back home. Not the house he grew up in, but the old family home. The ancestral house. The one with the capiz windows, the wooden floors, the kitchen that always smelled like sinigang. He's walking through it and he finds her. Someone he believes is his Lola. But she looks different. She looks thin, skinny, hollow cheeks, like she's been sick for a long time. Her hair is long, curly, black and white, falling past her shoulders. She's sitting in a wooden chair in the sala, in the living room, just sitting there. Chris walks up to her. He kneels. He takes her hand, and her hand feels real. He can feel the bones, the wrinkles, the warmth. And her voice when she speaks sounds exactly like his Lola. Exactly. He says, "Lola, ikaw ba talaga? Lola, is it really you?" And she smiles. She says, "Chris, namimiss kako. Dito ka muna sa tabi ko. Chris, I miss you. Stay beside me for a while."
I miss you, stay beside me for a while. That's the line that broke me.
It's so simple. It's so human. It's so Lola. Filipino Lolas always want you to stay. They always want you beside them. Even in dreams, even in death, that's what they ask for. So Chris sits beside her. He leans his head on her lap. She strokes his hair, the way Lolas do. And they stay like that for what feels like forever. And then, slowly, the dream begins to fade. The house starts to dissolve. The light changes. Chris tries to hold on, tries to keep his eyes open, tries to stay. But he can't. He wakes up and he's crying. He's crying so hard that his bunkmate wakes up and asks him what's wrong. Chris can't explain it. He just says, "Nakita ko si Lola." I saw Lola.
That moment when you wake up from a dream like that and you're crying before you're even fully awake. Your body knows what just happened, even if your mind hasn't caught up.
Yes. And here's where the story gets really beautiful, in a Filipino cultural way. Chris had been raised on the belief, and many of us were, that when the dead visit you in dreams, it's because they want to be remembered. They want you to say their name. They want you to pray for them. They want you to keep them alive in your heart. So Chris, that day, he lit a candle. He said a prayer. He called his mom in Guimaras and asked her to visit Lola's grave. He sent money for a mass to be said. He did everything his Lola would have wanted. And he felt peace. For the first time since she passed, he felt like she was okay, like she had crossed over, or was crossing over, with his blessing.
And you know what, Angel? That belief that our dead need us to remember them, that's not just folklore. There's something psychologically true about it. Grief needs ritual. The dead need witness. We need to say their names out loud. We need to tell their stories. Otherwise, they fade. Otherwise, we fade too.
That's so true, Paul. And that's part of why we do this podcast. We're not just telling ghost stories. We're telling human stories. We're keeping people alive. We're keeping their memories alive. We're saying their names out loud, even if we never met them. Quiet Manila, Restless Carabao, Foggy Benguet, Midnight Jologs. We see you, we hear you, we thank you. And Chris, wherever you are, your Lola is proud of you. I know it.
Absolutely. All right, Angel, we have reached the end of our 4 stories for tonight. Volume 21. I cannot believe we're already at 21. It feels like just yesterday we were recording Volume 1 in my apartment in Vancouver with a broken mic and a lot of hope.
Same, Paul. Same broken mic energy. Just better stories now, and slightly less broken mic. Okay, let's do some final reflections. I want to say a few things before we sign off. First, thank you. Thank you to every single person who sent in a story this week. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you to everyone who shares our episodes, who comments, who messages us, who tells their friends. This community is built by you, for you, and because of you. Second, please keep sending your stories. We have a backlog, but we will never run out of room. We want your encounters. We want your dreams. We want your unexplainable moments. We want the things you tell your friends late at night when the lights are off. Send them to us. The link is in our show notes. Third, if you've been affected by anything in tonight's stories, by anything in your own life, please reach out. Talk to someone. Talk to a tita, a friend, a priest, a therapist. You're not alone. The things we experience are real, and they matter, and you deserve to be heard. Fourth, and this is the most important one, please take care of yourselves. Drink water, eat warm food, hug your Lolas if you still have them. Call your parents, tell your siblings you love them. Life is short. Life is strange, and we are all just trying to make sense of it.
You know what, Angel? I want to add one more thing. To all the OFWs out there, to all the seamen, to all the nurses, to all the caregivers, to all the call center agents, to all the Filipinos scattered around the world, working hard, missing home, missing your Lolas, missing your Titos, missing the smell of your mom's cooking. You are seen. You are loved. You are remembered. And your sacrifices are not in vain. Stories like Chris's remind us that even across oceans, love crosses too. Even in dreams, even in death, love crosses too.
That's so beautifully said, Paul. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee via the link in our show notes. You can join our Patreon for early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and our monthly SPP horror movie watch party. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We're at SPP True Encounters on all platforms. Tag us, message us, send us your clips. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep your lights on, keep your doors locked, and remember, the stories are real, the encounters are real, and you are not alone.
Selamat everyone. Ingat kayo dyan. See you in volume 22.
I'm Angel.
I'm Paul. That Blumentritt story, the humming, that's gonna sit with me for a while.
The kid in the house?
Yeah, something about a child humming in a place where children haven't lived in years. It just messes with your head.
Place memory. The whole idea that walls remember what happened inside them.
And he said he felt more than one thing in that house.
Layered hauntings. That was the phrase he kept using. Like the space had multiple histories stacked on top of each other.
My Lola used to say some old houses are like palimpsests. You wipe them down, but the old ink keeps bleeding through.
See, your Lola gets it.
She grew up in a Bahay na Bato from the 1800s. Of course she gets it.
Those places hold everything. The births, the deaths, the arguments, the prayers.
The hotel story was a different flavor though.
The intelligent haunting. The one that communicated.
Right. The employee who figured out how to work with it instead of against it.
That part mattered. He didn't try to fight it or run. He tried to understand what it needed.
I love that framing. Hauntings as something you can negotiate with.
In the Philippines, that's not even unusual. Lots of businesses do rituals when they move into a new space. You acknowledge whatever's there. You introduce yourself.
It's respect. That's the whole thing.
And he said the activity calmed down once he started responding. Like the presence just wanted to be seen.
Not every haunting is predatory. Some of them are just lonely.
Okay, the floating woman wrecked me.
The long-term haunting, decades of sightings in the same spot.
Same description, same place, generations of students seeing her.
And the part where the school decided to protect her instead of trying to get rid of her.
That's so Filipino, honestly. You don't banish, you accommodate. You figure out how to live alongside it.
The priest blessing the perimeter, the students leaving offerings, the teachers telling the kids not to provoke her.
It's a relationship, not a haunting, a relationship.
Big difference between something hunting you and something just existing in your space.
She wasn't hurting anyone, she was just there.
And once they stopped treating her like a threat, the fear went down. People still saw her, but they weren't scared anymore.
The Seaman's dream, though, that one actually got me emotional.
His Lola coming to say goodbye.
Across the ocean. She died while he was at sea, and she still came to him.
Filipino belief says the dead visit the living, especially family.
My tita had a dream about her father the night he passed. She was in another country entirely.
Exactly. Distance doesn't matter to them.
The Seaman said she looked healthy, younger, happy.
That's how you know it's really her, not a nightmare, a visitation, a farewell.
And he woke up knowing, just knowing in his body that she was gone.
Grief and love tangled together. You can't pull them apart.
You really can't.
Alright, before we close out, thank you to everyone who stayed with us tonight.
If you want to support the show, hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Leave us a review. It genuinely helps new listeners find the show.
Share an episode with a friend who loves a good ghost story.
We have a Patreon at patreon.com/SPP True Encounters. Early episodes, behind the scenes stuff, the works.
Follow us on social media too. We're at SPP True Encounters on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it.
Tag us when you share your own encounters. We read everything.
We really do. I'm Angel.
I'm Paul.
Ingat kayo mga kaibigan. See you next time.
Maraming salamat everyone. Stay safe out there.
Stories Philippines podcast is an independent production made possible by Hustle Studios. The stories, accounts, and topics discussed in this episode are intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Hustle Studios or its affiliates. Some names, dates, and identifying details may have been altered to protect the privacy of individuals and families involved, particularly in cases of true crime or ongoing investigations. Listener discretion is heavily advised. All content, narrations, and sound designs are protected under copyright law. Thank you for listening, and stay safe.